Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick kind of ad hoc review of an app I use to keep my stuff organized, my comics organized, should I say. It's called CLZ Comics. Um, they have a mobile app, which you're seeing on the side here. They have a website. Actually, technically, they have kind of two types of websites, and then they have desktop software. Um, I have a fairly large collection of comics. As you can see, I have 50,395. Let's see if I can make this work. Up there. So that's how many comics I have. 50,395. And then this is my list of comics broken down by series. So on the screen, I either use the series view to see what comics I have, or I use the publisher view. I'm gonna move this window over here. Okay, great. Okay, so the publisher view is nice when you're trying to organize your comics by publisher. Obviously, they're not all correct. Uh, CLZ does an amazing job at importing all the latest comics into their system, but sometimes they're missing a publisher, or the publisher is an imprint, or vice versa, and so it gets a little bit of complications when you're dealing with that. Some people like to organize by um, imprint, and other people like to organize by overarching mothership publisher. So, a good example of this is Marvel has Max, and that's for their kind of R-rated stuff, and they also have Epic, which is kind of their indie type uh, imprint. So, do you organize by Max, Marvel, Epic? Marvel's also bought a bunch of publishers in the past, as has DC and Image, um, and Dark Horse too. A few others. How do you organize those? It's all up to you. It's easy enough to bulk edit in any of their software. Um, a good example of this is Bongo Comics. Bongo Comics. Some people will call Simpsons Comics because that's where they had their root. You got Dell in here, which some people would call Westinghouse, I think it's called. So lots of ways to organize. Recently, I've started putting or accounting for which comic is in which storage box, and you can see that here. My completed comics are going into archival boxes and are getting put away, and my other ones are going back into short boxes, but I'm actually documenting which short box they're in. So if I do complete them, I know where to go and get those comics from. Okay, so let's go back to series. On this pane, so we're in series mode. You can see that we're sorting, and that's gonna be at this top corner here. We're sorting by A to Z, and you can see that by the sort. You can flip it to the button next to it. And now this is by how many comics you have in that series. Also handy, I like to use this as a competition between Action Comics and Uncanny X-Men. It's kind of funny when you do this because, like, you can see X-Men Volume 1, which is there. I have the full series, it's complete. So it just keeps getting moved down further and further down the list. In the subtext under each column, you can see the actual titles that I have in each one. So there's my Batman #1, Volume 1, #1. Um, so that's kind of handy. It becomes more handy the fuller the title becomes. So, Superman Volume 2, which is about there. I have 0 through 49. I need 50. There's 51 through 59. So you can see the gaps pretty obviously. If you click into any one of these, you can now see the full list of titles you have. There's a tiny little link for Find Missing Comics. We will cover that. It's absolutely awesome. Newer feature from them. So we'll go down here, and you'll see they put a value on, and that value comes from what is it called? I used it just yesterday. It's the slabbed cost of your comic at the quality that you have inputted. I'm still working on my quality input. I'm doing that while unboxing comics. So when I import, I've chosen to import them as a default 9.4. I find it helps with relative pricing to do that. But my collection is not worth the $3 or $4 million of things. It's worth maybe a quarter of that, maybe, if maybe a tenth of it, somewhere between a quarter and a tenth of that. Although with how prices have gone lately, it's out of control. So let's go into a comic now. So now you see the cover. And once again, this is all auto-filled for you. You can blow the cover up. As you can see across the top, I'm scrolling through the different issues I have. You got a description, which once again comes in automatically. The writer, the penciler, the inker, the colorist, letterer. And this will differ depending on the comics. This is a fairly new comic. Based on the price, I'm guessing it's in the last 10 years. So it has all the information. When it comes to kind of older comics, the information gets a little more sparse, but that's because of what information is out there about it. And if you're dealing with comics that really are out there, like I have some really indie comics, there's gonna be no information for them, but you can enter the information. So we're gonna go to the edit button that's at the bottom here by my belly. So yeah, you can see all that you can edit. Issue number, if it's a variant or not. The way they treat variants is if it's the H variant, they'll put an H afterwards. If you want to go in and you want to actually label some stuff about the variant, you can do that in this edit menu. We'll go through that. So on the personal side, this is where you find your storage box, and the owner of it, which is interesting. You can have comics in your collection that you're not the owner of. The read date, which is important to some people, even if they're doing it digitally. So this will show you. Oh, it's Go Collect. I don't know why I forgot that. This will show you the value, the stacking value on the grading. Now, mind you, this is the value based on slabbed comics. So yeah, you can mark it as a key comic, and you can put the reason. You can put your grading company, if it's raw or slabbed, and then if it's signed. The signed menu is kind of cool. It shows you the people that have signed your stuff before and how many you have. So I've got 4 Jim Lees, 2 Bendis. I think I gave one of my Bendis away, but yeah. So you can put in here the purchase price. So if you the cover price means very low nowadays, but if you bought a $2.99 comic and you spend $20 on it, you'll want to put the purchase price in there and where you bought it, purchase date. It helps you keep track of kind of the flow of your collection. And then the cover, you can put in a custom cover if you want. When it comes to variants, they're very good about keeping track of all the variant covers, and they're in there automatically for you. And since variants have individual barcodes, you just scan the barcode with your phone, and all the information shows up. You can add it. You can search the database manually. We'll go through all that. But as you can see, the browsing feel is really good. You can also sort by all creators. And I love this mode. It takes a little bit to do 150,000. So when you talk about a creator of a comic, you're talking about the artist, the writer, sometimes the publisher, if they're like the publishing editor, if they're important. But you can see my collection. 3,000 comics have no data on them, which is actually not bad. That's less than 1%. Is that less than 1%? No, that's 1.5%. No, 6%. Whatever. It's not very big. So then, let's say we want to go look at some of Mike's stuff. And here you go. So, he's all of his action comics and adventures. So yeah, it's pretty great. It's Azrael, Birds of Prey. So, it's pretty great that you can do that. You can break it down by grade as well. Pretty useless in my collection right now because everything's the same grade. Alright, so you can have different types of collections. You're not locked to one, so you can have a for sale collection. You can say you have a wish list, on order, or not in collection. Not in collection is something that I created, I think. Yeah, definitely something I collected. And so the sidebar under the hamburger menu, you can add comics from Core. So Core being their collection system. You can manually add them. It's very dark, huh? Oh well, whatever. I'll light it up. So you can sync with the cloud. So that's another web version. I have nothing to sync. So that means that any changes you make on your phone, it will sync in the background, but you can also manually sync it up. A lot of people like that feature because it's saving your progress. It's saving everything about that one file, everything, to the cloud, and then you can share that cloud link, and other people can see your collection without having to own the app. It's really cool. You can see your duplicates, and these would be perceived duplicates. So, same series, same comic number. I'm not sure if it takes signatures into consideration. So, like, I will have two of a comic. One will have no signature, one will have a signature. As you can tell, I don't have a lot of signatures. I only probably got, like, 30. Which is not a lot. So, manage collections. You can have more than one collection. You can have the uniques, and then you can have the trades, and you can have dad's collection. If you want to track your dad's or your grandfather's or whatever's comic collection separately from your own, you can do that as well. It's really cool. You can update the comic value. Now this takes a long time for 50,000 comics. It's hitting the API over at GoCollect and collecting all the values. The screen that comes after this is just so cool, but it really does take a long time. So maybe we shouldn't have done this. What else can I tell you? The big plus symbol at the bottom At the bottom of the screen is where you add, and under there you can add by series. Um, you can add by issue, which is the series plus the number. So collecting comics becomes really complicated because there's like 40 Hulk number ones, and some of them are part of the same volume one, and there might be variants, but majority of them will be part of different volumes and even have different titles to the series. So it's nice to have a place where you can go, I don't know what series this is, I just got this comic, Hulk number 9, for instance, and all the Hulk number 9s show up, and then you compare to the cover art. So that's really useful while this thing is still going. And then you can add by barcode, like I said, and with the barcode you can both scan it or manually enter it. I would say that 80% of the time the barcode scan is good enough that it gets me within the range. So I synced it yesterday. It sees my collection as only having 2 changes. Fantastic Four number 34 went up by $50, and The Walking Dead Deluxe number 7B went up by $2. Nothing to write home about. But it's kind of cool, that screen. Missing comics is kind of cool too. It builds you a printable list and a viewable list, savable list of what comics you're missing. So it's very cool. Definitely use it. I posted up on Google Drive, and then if a person asks me, "Hey, what do you need?" I just send them the list. Now, granted, it's got like 70,000 comics on it, but it seems to work really well. And the statistics, if I can do that correctly. Uh-oh. Something's happened on the way to paradise. This app barely ever crashes, so it just doesn't. But it does have kind of blocking calls every now and then because it's getting so much information. Why is it getting missing? I did not ask for missing. Maybe I did. There we go. I would show you missing, but it takes a very long time for missing to present itself because, once again, 50,000 comics, the trash guy's here. I forgot to put on any of my lights, and that's why it's so dark in here. So, more importantly, Action Comics, you can see that's the comics by series, then recent editions, and then most valuable comics. So yeah, that's Silver Surfer number 1, bounces up and then bounces down. For a while there, the EC horror comics were really high up there. If you have one valuable comic, it kind of skews some of the numbers. Comics by publisher, I like to look at that. Make sure that I'm not leaning one way or the other. Comics by grade, like I said, everything that comes in is at a 9.4, and then I sort them out later. Comics by release date, this is kind of cool. When I was collecting comics when I was reading comics, let me put it that way, I wasn't collecting them. At my peak was probably 94, between 93 and 95. So, and comics themselves were at a peak then, so it's not surprising. It's not surprising that my comics by year is mostly 93 to 95. Did I have to hear a dog in here? No. Okay, and then we got Creator, which you saw before, which is John Quesada. And then comics by characters, kind of cool too. You see, I have more Batman characters than Superman or Kal-El. And then Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man. Probably what you would expect to see in an average comic collection. Okay, so manage your pick list. So if you want to, you can document what's on your pick list here, help keep track of it. Do I pick up that comic? Do I not pick up that comic? And it builds a nice little pickup list every week if you're doing a local comics book store. Field defaults is how I set the 9.4 for everything I import. So you can say everything I import needs to be set to me, Marcel. And so that works out really well. Maintenance is what you think. Settings is what you think it is. You can change the way it looks. Whether you want the grades and the values. Yeah, so pretty good. Most of the time comes from importing. Let's look at that. We talked about that while we were waiting. Add by series, by issue, by barcode, and from the pull list. So if you fill in your pull list and you use your pull list, then you can easily import from your pull list, which is a really great feature. What else should I show you guys? So I'll show you some of the kind of softer things. So we have your average modern day. It's Detective Comics number 954. So I'm going to go to add barcode. Barcode was upside down, but that's fine. So it found 2 comics with that barcode. And it's not surprising. This comic has a variant, which is just a B, and that variant shares the same barcode. So it shows you both. You can click into each one and you can see what it looks like. That was not the cover I was looking for. And you can see it already has all the data because it's imported it. And you can go, oh, that, is this the one? Yes, that's the one I was looking for. You can check it off. If there's only one, it'll auto check it. When you try and import something you already have, it'll show you this message. What would you like to do? The cancel is a little deceptive. Because it doesn't cancel the whole queue. So let's say you have 40 comics, 100 comics here. It only cancels that one import. So you hit cancel there. That's it. It didn't add anything. When you go back to your view and you've added something, you'll see that series view. So you'll see this view for the last comic you added. It means you can very rapidly add comics. It's really great. On the series view, and if it doesn't import it, it'll leave it in the list. So you can see what didn't import, and you can make a final judgment on it. In the series view, it recognizes with type ahead. Fantastic. Issue view, it does not. But there's a lot of Batman number 4s. So yeah, you can see all the Batman number 4s have come up, whether they're just Batman number 4, or if they're like Batman and Robin, Eternal number 4. You can see the values. You can see the date of release, which helps you, zoom in on what you're actually looking for. If you know more of the title, you can type that in and it'll narrow it down. I think where I get hung up a lot is what volume it falls in. If you look at something like Aquaman or Submariner, there's a lot of very quick back-to-back volumes. Fantastic Four is a little like that too. So it can sometimes be hard, but you know what the cover looks like. So this helps you isolate by cover or by date, and you know what date it is too. So you know, yeah. So I think that's it. The global search up here. There's two ways to global search. Um, it also is type ahead, and if you do, and it searches not just the title. It searches the creators, searches the character list as well. So if you want to see all the things Batman was in, Batman was in 892 series. And of course, he's most commonly found in his own comic, and then JLA, that makes sense, Justice League of America. Superman, Batman, that makes sense. Let's see the first one that we wouldn't have thought. Robin, that makes sense. World's Finest, that makes sense. Nightwing, sure. Brave and the Bold, yep. Azrael, sure. Countdown, yep. All-Star Script Squadron, I'll give that one to him. Let's see. Teen Titans is a little surprising that it's so many. Out of 100 titles, he's in a quarter of them. You can see how this happens too. So over here at Heroes in Crisis, there's only 9 titles. See the have, and there's the 1 to 9, but I have 17 comics. So those are variants. Those are signed. So it's kind of nice that it shows you actually physically how many you have. You can also multi-select. If you're moving comics, or if you're giving someone an entire run and then some others, you can multi-select, which helps too. Let's keep going. Green Lantern, Volume 3. That's surprising that Batman shows up in my collection that much in Green Lantern. I don't know what use Batman needs to Green Lantern, to be honest. Department of Truth? Kind of interesting. Okay. I don't know why you. Anyhow, I'm not gonna question it. Just gonna keep going. So, this is. I've tried out a few different comic, apps, and I'll tell you why I like this one the most. Other comic apps that I've tried store the data in the cloud, or on a in a database references some storage space. So when you open the app, it looks at your list and then pulls that data down. This app, I don't know how this app was built. I know it's built in the UK somewhere by some very nice people. Every time I contact them, they're fantastic. Not a sponsor, but they're fantastic. But it seems to keep a local chunk of data to show you at least the core data when it loads, and then it lazy loads it and brings it down when it needs to. So what that means is this app is way faster and loads way faster than anything I've tried on the market, and I've tried a lot. And it's not by like seconds, it's by minutes. So that's really good. It's a subscription base. I am subscribed to the cloud solution. I don't know that I would not subscribe to the cloud solution. I'll do a different video on the cloud solution, because it's pretty deep as well. What they try and do as much as they can is build features across the board. So the web interface is really, really good. The desktop software, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think it's because I have so many comics that it's really hard to. I prefer. Let me put it this way: I prefer to use the mobile app to manage my comics. I have comics here, so this is about between this and there's an area over here, and then I have another wall over here. It's about 50,000. No, not 50,000. 50,000, but 35,000 comics, and then I have 15,000 downstairs in my garage. That's right below here, and that's all my indie, Image, and Dark Horse. Is down there, and that's 15,000. So 35 up here, 15,000 down there. So because it's split physically, it's easier to just use my phone, and I don't mind it at all. It feels really, really natural. So okay, so that is CLZ Comics. I literally will give this app a 5 out of 5. I highly recommend it when people don't know how to manage their large collections. The team, the company, are very open to recommendations or feature requests, and like I put in a feature request the other day for kind of complex searching or stacked searching on the and I use the mobile app. And they wrote back to me immediately saying, "Hey, that's available on the website and the desktop client. Is that good enough for you?" And it's interesting. I haven't written them back yet, but it's interesting that they're so personable and want to make their product the best product there is. It's not expensive. I know anytime I hear subscription, I kind of shriek back because that tends to be an excuse to make money. But when you're dealing with kind of cloud solutions, it makes sense because there's a monthly accrual of costs there that they're also getting shysted for by whoever they're using for hosting. Alright, that's it. If you have questions, comment below. Once again, this is a 5 out of 5 app for me. I pretty much hate every other app I use on my phone. So I should call this Marcel's bipolar reviews. But I really love this one. Sorry the lighting was so bad, but the important part was fine. So that's all that matters. Alright guys, thank you very much. Have a good Monday.